Hey guys, we are so excited to be coming to you today. I hope you're having a good time at groups. My name is Dallas, and I had the privilege this week of preaching, and we've been doing this series on the Enneagram. I'm sure most of you have been a part of that, entitled Who Are You? And we've been looking at the 9 different types on the Enneagram and the personalities and all the things that make them tick and all that kind of fun stuff. And so we're going to jump in today talking about the number 3. I am a number 3, so I'm going to be the interviewee, I guess we could call it. So the first thing we want to talk about is what are I guess I should introduce y'all if they don't know. So this is Emily, and she's going to be helping facilitate our conversation today. And on the end is Pastor Kelly, the what is your title right now? Pastor of Adults
Ministries.
Pastor of Adult Ministries. So first thing, let's jump in.
What do you do here?
What do you do? So first thing we want to talk about, our first question is, what are some things that 3s need to know about themselves?
Yes. Okay. So, and you kind of talked about this in your sermon, but 3s should know that they have this ability to read a room. They can walk in the room, figure out what they need to do, read the people around them. I often say they're the first people to notice when you're off. They have good radar for that, but on the flip side of that, they have a really hard time reading themselves. And so
Very true.
That's important for a 3 to know about yourself, that you're going to maybe feel like you're having a feeling, but you might not know what it is. And here's why it's important to take the time to figure out what that is. So if you think of the analogy of someone running a race, which 3s will like because they're all about winning that race. And if you think about the race runner, his shoe gets untied. He's not going to want to stop to tie that shoe because then he might get behind. That's kind of what 3s do with emotions, is they kind of shove them to the side or they pretend they're not there because it slows them down. But if you think about what would happen if you didn't stop and tie your shoelace,
Fall flat on your face.
You're more likely to trip. You're more likely to break your shoelace. Your shoe might come off. All kinds of things that could happen if you didn't get that. So to learn to take the time to step aside, figure out what you're feeling, figure out why you're feeling it, is an important thing to do.
It's good.
The second thing that is like a gift about 3s is that they are like treasure seekers. They can see the treasure and the value in all the things around them.
So Indiana Jones was a 3. Is that what you're saying? Maybe.
And so this can go 2 ways. You can spend a lot of energy seeking that treasure, and that's not a bad thing. The other way you can take it is that you also have the ability to see the treasures in other people and the value in other people, and you can see the possibility and encourage the other people to run their race strong too, and that's like the 3's gift.
How does that play into, because when we talked about that 3s can uniquely display God's hope and radiance in the world, it sounds like some of what you just said about the treasure seeking could possibly play into that display of hope.
Yep. So like if they can easily see the goal they're headed toward and they believe they can do it. And a lot of other types don't have that like they don't think they can do it. And so if you can see that goal for the other person and you can see that they can do it, you can believe in them, and then they like get that hope from you that like they can believe in themselves as well.
Yeah, I think 3s are, the more I've studied it and looking at my own life, we really do like to bring out the best in other people, to get people involved in a project. They're very good at rallying, people for a cause. And so they see that gift in each person and trying to position it. The challenge for 3s is to stick with something and not move on to the next thing before they see the challenge, before they see it accomplished. That's definitely something that 3s get really excited and they're off and running. They get everybody in place and then they're off to the next thing. And
What's next?
Yeah, very, very much so.
I do think I remember you saying once, though, that you want to always put something in your message that's encouraging.
Yeah.
Something that gets people, like, to believe that hope, that you
Sure.
always put that in their message.
No, as I studied this and it just so came alive for me, threes are very inspirational.
Mhm.
And when I'm preaching, I always try to, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with different teaching styles, but for me, I always want people to leave inspired to go do something. So many times messages, it's like, I know I shouldn't do that, or I know I should do that, but my thought has always been, I want to inspire them to do what they already know to do, or what they just learned to do, to try to get them excited about, whatever the new information or even the old information is, to go do it. So, yeah, threes are definitely want to bring vision and inspiration to people. So,
So as someone who's not a 3, some things you should know about your 3 is that they don't lose well. That they tend to have a very black or white, it's you win or you lose. And so if your 3 is perhaps discouraged or a little down, knowing this about them, that they might be feeling like a failure and you might not even see them that way. So I think that's important to be like, if your 3 is really down, you can encourage them.
I was asking someone a few weeks ago who's a 3 how they feel about losing games. And they said, I don't lose games because I only play the ones I know I'm going to win.
very true.
This is true.
Yeah, threes are not going to do something they know they're going to fail at.
Yeah.
Yep.
So threes are, if they're going to do something, they're going to win. Or one thing that I learned, and I see it in myself, threes, they never lose. They just run out of time, or there's always an excuse, because they don't accept failure very well. They always try to spin that failure into success, or that it's not their fault, or whatever it may be. So the
Like
game
my shoelace came untied.
yes, the game was rigged. The game was rigged. You cheated. There's no way I could have possibly lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, a second thing is that they feel that the more they perform for you, the more they show off for you, the more you see them being successful, that actually changes their worth, that they're actually worth more.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing that about them, you can, stepping into the next one, you can remind them of their worth ahead of time and daily, just daily reminding them. When they're at their peak, that your praise is similar to when they haven't succeeded. Because then that helps them to not feel like they have to earn it so much if you just remind them that it's there all the time. So that does get into the last part, which is how to love them. So remind them that you love them for who they are. That you couldn't have done anything within a day to make me love you more. And you couldn't have done anything within a day, even if I'm mad and frustrated, to make me love you less, because your value doesn't change.
That's good.
And then the last one is just to verbally praise them and give them that. It's like their currency. So when they've done a good job, when they've succeeded, give it to them. Praise them like crazy.
And threes are many times difficult to praise, because they need it desperately, but when you give it to them, sometimes they act really annoying about it. Like I had someone just recently come up to me and praise me, and I interrupted them as they were complimenting me, and I was like, yeah, but this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong. And they were like, do you realize what you just did? And I was like, yes, I'm sorry, but I desperately need that praise. But yet when someone gives it to me, I'm awkward with it. And I think that's probably true for a lot of threes. Like we don't know how to take a compliment, even though we crave them.
Want it.
Yeah.
How does that, like, how do you find that balance, though, between praising them because they, that's currency, that's what they need, but also not having them feel like they're praised for just what they do? Is it that balance with also praising them for, like, trying, even if they fail?
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I
Finding the
fail,
thing.
if you could just compliment me, that would be great. Yeah.
Well, I think it's the difference between giving them what they thrive off of versus inflating them.
Yeah.
So you're not praising them so that they know their worth. You're just noticing what's important to
And
them.
praising character and not always accomplishments
So
is
not
important.
just flattery. It's,
Yeah, you did good. You are good.
Yeah.
You're just such a kind person. Like, when you do that, I really appreciate that. And so then you're not necessarily rewarding I don't want to say bad behavior, but this incessant need for compliments about what you've done. Because that is the challenge, that people only love me for what I do, not for who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So more about character
Yeah.
than achievement.
That's good.
But then also don't withhold it when they achieve, because
I mean, we all want that, right?
to withhold it.
No.
I do.
When we feel like we've done something, like we all want,
Yeah.
whether we say it or not, or whether it's comfortable or not, we all want someone to recognize if we've worked hard on something or accomplished something.
Well, and threes are very proud of their accomplishments. Threes want their name in lights. They want people to notice them. And when they're not noticed, especially when they feel like they're actually doing good and no one else notices, it's really hard on them. It's like, why aren't people liking me right now? Why aren't people noticing my efforts right now?
Yeah.
Well, and also I think that can sometimes push them into the next gear of like, I just did all this good stuff and no one's noticing, so now I have to push it up a notch. Like, so instead of that, just praising them when they're ahead of time, so that they don't feel like they have to overproduce to get it.
That's good.
Whereas in my own type, and probably this is just because I'm a rotten person, I feel a lot with threes like I want to hold it back, because I'm like, well, I don't want their head to get big, so I'm not going to tell them, even though I'm really proud of them. And so for me, it's a stretch to have to just give it to them anyway, that it's actually not going to necessarily inflate them, but it's just going to make them feel seen.
Well, and my wife's a 1, and so she sees things very black and white, and she's like, why should I praise you for doing your job, for doing what you're supposed to do? And she's like, because she would never think to do that, and she would never want that. She's like, no one should praise me for doing the dishes. That's just what I do. I don't need a compliment. Way to go. I really appreciate you. That just doesn't even make sense to her. And so for me, I'll do the smallest little chore around the house, and I'll be like, did you notice that? And she's like, yeah, it's called being a father and a husband and contributing to our home. But for me, it's like, I need some praise.
But she said, too, that she's working on that and trying to
Yeah.
do that one
And
for
she
you.
realizes whether I agree with it or not, it is important to a 3.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, that's what I got.
Cool.
You're up.
All right. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about the 3, what they should know about themselves, what us as non-3s should know about them, how to love them well. And in your group discussion today, we are going to be jumping into the book of Genesis and looking at this really interesting story and this really interesting man named Jacob. And I would encourage you, if you have the time, to go and read this story. It's really entertaining, actually. There's a lot of twists and turns and different relationship dynamics and all this stuff going on. And so that story starts in Genesis 25, starting at verse 19. And so Jacob is the grandson of Abraham, the son of Isaac, and he's a twin. And so why we are landing in this story on the week of the achiever, the type 3, is because we see so many glimpses of the tendencies and characteristics of the type 3 throughout the life of Jacob, both positively, his hard work, his determination, but also how that can go sideways, how that can work against him if, in order to achieve, he cuts corners, he manipulates, and he's trying to seek worth, but not in the right way. But that always God can redeem that. And so through that story, we'll see how he wrestled through those tendencies, but we'll also be looking at the hope and the radiance that 3s uniquely display, but how they display that to the world when they are really pushing in to Christ, not displaying their own radiance, but really reflecting his radiance to the world and the beauty that comes from that. So I hope you can dive into the scripture today. that the Spirit speaks to you through that, and that your time together in your group is blessed because of your time in the Word. So have a great discussion. Thanks for listening to us, including us in your group this week.
And I just want to make sure that all of you at your groups tonight, that you acknowledge with everyone in your group that threes are the best. So just want to make sure that that's clearly stated, and you praise the threes in your group wherever you are.
Dallas, I think you're a great person.
I am. It's true. No, but
You used to work on humility.
I don't know. One other thing, though. Kelly talked about the story of Jacob. There really is so much that I didn't get to in my sermon that you're not going to get to in groups. So really encourage you to check out the story of Jacob. It's just so many interesting and fascinating stories. And when you're reading it through the lens of Jacob being a three, it's pretty fascinating. So definitely read the story when you get some time.
All right. See you later.
See ya. Say bye, Emily.
Bye. I always feel weird saying goodbye to a camera.